Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is actress Betty Garrett and singer Charlotte Crossley. You all know Betty Garrett as an Edith Bunker's friend, a friend in All in the Family, and as the landlady who married Laverne's father and Laverne and Shirley. But Betty goes way back. She started at MGM during the golden era of the musicals. And she was in such fabulous movies as On the Town, Neptune's Daughter, Words and Music, on and on and on.
Take me out to the ball game.
Take me out to the ball game. Did you come to Hollywood via Broadway, Betty?
Yes, I had starred in a Broadway show and had many years of theater before I went to MGM.
You actually, which was a surprise to me, I don't know why, studied with Martha Graham.
I was a Martha Graham dancer, yeah.
That's
she taught at the Neighborhood Playhouse, which is my drama school, and the year after I graduated, she needed to augment her group for a concert. So I was with her for a year and did concerts in Carnegie Hall and the Alvin Theater. It was a thrilling time of my life, but I think that's what made me decide to be an actress.
I think dancing is very strenuous, and your career's over very soon.
You get a sort of feeling that you don't want to dedicate your life to this pain. It really is a hard life. I admire dancers so much. I've never stopped dancing. I still, as a matter of fact, I taught for about 12 years. I taught non-dancers how to dance.
Oh, you did?
I was connected with my theater group, Theater West, that I'm one of the founders of. And somebody put me on the spot once and said, I'm always talking about the way people move. And they said, all right, you teach a class. So I started, and it was very exciting for a number of years because I saw people who really didn't know how to move suddenly know how to move, because I taught everything from tap dancing to ballet to modern, and just to give them a sense of the styles.
Well, I have a sense of the style because I have you running up the steps. I have a clip from Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Sure, yeah.
And I also have something that was done 30 years later, and you're still moving. So whether or not you say you're a dancer...
I think it's almost 40 years later.
40 years later. So let's see the first clip. It's
all right.
Fate, Baby.
It's Fate.
It's Fate, Baby. It's
Fate. Right.
With Frank Sinatra.
Right.
And we'll see you run up the steps.
Okay.
I've gone and studied up in my astrology. I'm really knowledgy.
It doesn't matter if you are Aquarius or Sagittarius or Gemini or Scorpio or Taurus the bull, Capricornus or Pisces the fish.
Winter, summer, spring, or fall, as long as you were born at all. Mister, you're my dish. It's fate, baby, it's fate.
Can't I even put up a fuss?
It's fate, baby. The stars have written that you and me is us. It's right, baby, so right. I can see it in the cards. Don't fight, baby. Take off that mitten, 'cause you and me is pards. Listen, Mac, it's all arranged in the zodiac. Got you coming and going. Hey, Fudge, your future showing. Too late, baby, too late. This feeling in me stirs. It's fate, baby, so let's start buying towels, Martez and
Boom! Is he heavy? Can you
He weighed about 135 pounds then.
And how much did
and
you
I
weigh?
was strong. I weighed a lot less, but I was strong.
Do you think you could, do you think you could pick him up today?
I could not pick up Frank Sinatra the way he is today. I could still pick him up the way he was then, which was like nothing. But now
that
he's a bit heavier.
That was really his trademark, and to hear the two of you singing together is like...
It was so much fun.
Was it a first?
That was the first we did. Then we did On the Town next together. So
Was he fun to work with?
I loved working with him. He was so darling. He really, he's fun on the set and on rehearsals. He's got a good sense of humor, and he can do anything. You realize when you look back on Frank's pictures, he danced, he did, and he shows up very well as an actor over the time because he was so natural.
I think that is very surprising and telling, because we always thought of him as a singer, but when you do look at this, I think, how did he know how to dance? Or how can he...
He's just a natural.
That was it. Now, you're a natural too, because we have the next clip. I'm going to take you way back. You said almost 40 years to now.
Yeah.
And
this was last year at the AIDS Project, big stage benefit that I do every year. I'm a chairperson of it, and it's a wonderful show that goes on every year with the talent from all over this town. Great, great people.
So we're going to see you.
This year was dedicated to Irving Berlin, I think.
Ah, that's why.
Yeah.
So we'll see this number.
This was to all of the composers, but this is Irving Berlin.
This is Irving Berlin, and you're going to do a tap and sing. Your voice is still there, and your feet are still moving.
So, yeah.
Not be fair always. That's when I'll be there always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. 5, 6, 7, 8. Understand. Always. Do not
Oh, they cut it in the wrong place.
Oh.
I set it up so that they would get
Where do we need a little more of that?
yes, you gotta get up to the place. Oh.
Can we go back?
Just me and Connie Sawyer.
Paul, can we start at the beginning of that clip?
Just go a little longer. Go. I have a wonderful line where I set it up so that it.
Understand. Always. Do not I'll be there. Always. Just an hour. Did you see that?
There are. Is that right? Is that what you say? There aren't?
I said there aren't many old ladies who can do that step.
Do you still work out?
I take tap dancing, and I kind of got bored with my own teaching, so I stopped teaching dancing. And my son is very athletic, and he teaches Nautilus and racquetball at the Hollywood Y. So he put me through the paces with the Nautilus. So I've been doing that. I kind of like that.
Do you have to still take voice lessons? Because you sang in this.
I do now because I had a strange illness not long ago and lost my voice. They stuck one of those breathing tubes down my throat in an emergency, and I'm still getting over that. So I'm taking vocal therapy.
So it helps you. But you were singing fine.
Oh, that was before it, yeah. I'm doing fine.
I know one of your great loves is Theater West. You're a founding member. Was it, and you took classes at the neighborhood theater. Are they
Neighborhood Playhouse?
Neighborhood Playhouse, excuse me. Are they similar in structure?
No, not at all. Neighborhood Playhouse was definitely a school. Theater West is a workshop of professional actors, and we all got together 32 years ago and started just meeting on one night a week, and now it's like 3 nights a week. Bringing in scenes and working on them and getting feedback from the other actors.
So each professional brings their own thing in? Is that the idea?
And you sometimes work on a long-term project. I worked on a one-woman show for myself, which ultimately became Betty Garrett and Other Songs, and which I just played in London last summer.
We have that one picture.
Yeah,
what is that part?
That's from I'm Not Getting Married, Stephen Sondheim.
Right.
And this is from, I lived in a town called Mira, from Carnival. And then this is a routine I do about my experiences in Britain doing variety. And this is a takeoff on a British comic that we knew.
But you developed this at the
at Theater West.
Theater West?
Yes, I brought in a section of it, maybe 20 minutes, and everybody said, "Oh, that's fun, do some more." And it ended up being a full 2-act show all by myself, and so.
Now, I know you've helped develop, Theater West has been wonderful about developing these one-person shows.
Yeah.
Why does someone want to be on the stage for an hour and a half by themselves?
You're not a born actress if you... That's the greatest thing that can happen to you is you stand up there and captivate an audience for 2 hours. We've had several people. Chaz Parmentieri developed Bronx Tale there, which became a movie. We developed Spoon River, which went to Broadway and was a big success there. That was quite a few years ago. And then right now, Joe Lucas, a young man, developed a play about his childhood in the coal mines of Pennsylvania. It's called Once a Man, Twice a Boy. And he started bringing in little hunks and pieces of it, just talking about his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather who worked in the coal mines. And sort of the theme of the play is, this is the last generation. It stops with me. I'm not going to do that. And he became an actor and consequently a writer.
One thing that I think I read somewhere is that you have to be approved to become a part of this.
Absolutely.
That's what was a little bit different than the regular theater.
Exactly. We have a board of directors. I'm on that board, and whenever anybody wants to become a member, they're either approved if they're well known by other members and then recommended, or they audition. And we try to keep the membership to about 100 active members because otherwise it gets ungainly. And that way we can meet and we still all know each other, and some people have auditioned 2 and 3 times before they got in.
Is that right?
But it's a wonderfully warm family group.
What do you think of Los Angeles as a theater town?
Well, I don't have time to see all the things I want to see. I think it's just marvelous. Anybody who says it's not just should try to go from one theater to another and see some marvelous shows, really great shows.
I think so too, but could you, being in the theater, could you live anywhere else? Could you live in London or New York?
Oh, God, I love London so much. And I love New York so much. I would love to be bi-coastal. That would be my dream.
Do you think you'd get as much work done doing that?
Probably, if I could do a Broadway show half the year and then movies or television the other half, if somebody asks me to.
You mentioned your son. I know you have 2 sons by
Larry Parks.
By Larry Parks, and you and Larry did a show at the Palladium in London.
Yes,
I don't know what year it was.
That was about 1951. I remember it because it was right after my first son was born. And we played at the Palladium, which is like vaudeville, but they call it variety there. And
Did you sing and dance together?
Yes, oh yes. We did Soft Shoes together and sketches, and it was a glorious time of my life. I just loved that.
And you just were able to go back to London and do your play again.
Yeah, well, you know what's wonderful about the British people is they don't forget you.
Yeah, and we won't forget you too. We're glad you were with us today.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Betty Garrett, for being with us and telling us all about your interesting things in your life.
Thank you.
And don't go away, because we'll be right back with singer Charlotte Crossley. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back. We're back with Charlotte Crossley. She was born in Chicago, and the minute she graduated from high school, Charlotte was cast in Hair. She calls that musical her college degree. Then it was on to France for several months. She calls that trip her graduate school. After all this education, she was ready for live concerts with Bette Midler, Barry Manilow, recordings with Luther Vandross, Devo, and Boss Skaggs. Charlotte was one of the original cast members for Hair, Jesus Christ Superstar, and Tricks. She's worked in film, television, commercials. You're one talented person.
I try to be.
You try. Oh, you're so modest.
No. Actually, I wanted to do everything. So, and I really liked radio, and I got a chance to do that in New York, to do some serials, some radio stories, or radio serials, or dramas, or traumas. But I really enjoyed that. But it wasn't until I came to California that I really began to do the thing that I wanted to do, and that was television and film, and I haven't done enough of it.
Is that right? You haven't done enough?
Tell me about it.
But we talk about all these things that you did. Did you just take a myriad of lessons? Did you take voice and dance and acting?
Well, when I was in high school, I took voice from the time I was, all through grammar school. I sang in church choir from the time I was 7. And so I was very involved in music. I took piano, I took clarinet, I took dance.
So it was all trained.
It was trained, but it was all given as a way to make one poised and ladylike. And so when I announced when I was 16 that I wanted to go into the business, it was not received well in my family.
Especially going to Hair.
Oh. My father didn't talk to me for a year.
Did he come and see you?
Yeah, he did.
And then he didn't talk to you.
And then he really was very concerned, as well he should have been, because I was, it was an act of rebellion, but it was also my first professional job, and I'd done a lot of community theater, so it was in my blood. I had to do it. I was just driven.
When you talk about being in an original cast, can the original cast be anywhere in the United States? Is that it?
In 1969, Jim Rado and Jerry Ragney, Tom O'Horgan, Jim Rado and Jerry Ragney had conceived the idea, and Galt McDermott conceived the idea of Hair as a workshop experience through La Mama and through the New York Shakespeare Festival.
Oh, they did?
And so, yeah, and so then when it became a big hit at the New York Shakespeare Festival, they went on to Broadway. And what happened was they birthed these original casts. There was one in Chicago, there was Detroit, there was Seattle, Washington, there was Los Angeles, there was San Francisco, there was Boston, there was Florida. So there was 7 original casts. And the company I was in, the Chicago company, was the 4th original cast. And then there was Hawaii, which eventually became Las Vegas, and I went to that company too.
You were in Las Vegas
Yes.
as well. Did it feel the same playing in Las Vegas as, say, on a stage in a big city?
We did it in a proscenium stage
But I mean,
theater. It felt very strange, because we did a show at 3 in the morning, and it was very bizarre. It was very strange and very tough. It was hard in Vegas.
But that idea of doing something at that time probably helped you when you went into the concert world.
It actually did, because by the time I had left Hair in 1970 and then subsequently moved to New York City, my sister and my best friend moved me to New York City. I was going to come out here, and they said, no, don't go to California, go to New York. So I went to New York, and Tom O'Horgan was directing the New York, the original cast of Superstar, and so I auditioned and I got in, and so all of that prepared me for my time with Bette Midler, which was like my PhD in show business.
Now we're up to a
PhD in show business. It was vaudeville.
What did you do,
incredible.
actually?
I replaced Melissa Manchester. I was the first replacement, and I was the first black girl to come into that situation.
Were they the Harlots then?
Yes, the original Harlots were 3 brunette girl singers from New York, Melissa Manchester, Gail Cantor, and Merle Miller. And they were all brunettes, and they were all very timid session singers. And Bette and I had become friends, so I was still doing shows, and we were still very friendly, and I would go and see her show. And so I did not see these girls until I was on vacation in Chicago, and they were at Mr. Kelly's, an old and very famous nightclub in Chicago. And I went and I saw these 3 girls, and I thought, these girls are cute. They were wearing black Norma Kamali tight-fitted dresses, and they had red Joan Crawford pumps on, and they were very white, and then but they weren't slutty enough. And so Bette wanted a combination of the Ikettes and some streetwalker. I don't know.
But you do not look like Miss Slutty Streetwalker.
No, I'm that person.
Did you come in with this kind of a look?
No, I was straight. I was a Corrine. I was very.
It was
funny.
Professional, huh?
Yeah, I was a Broadway baby. I was into that whole roar of the grease paint, smell of the crowd.
So how did this happen then? Just for
She and I were
friendship?
friends, and I was in the musical Tricks. And unbeknownst to me, the show was about to open and close on the same night.
I was wondering because I hadn't heard of that show yet.
Oh my God, it was it was a nightmare. But her best friend wrote the libretto. His name is Jerry Blatt. He's no longer with us. But he was her best friend, and he said, oh, you should hire Charlotte. And so she knew me. She said, oh, yeah. So they called me, and they said, we want to come and talk to you. So she and her manager at the time, Bill Hennessy, who was also deceased, very sweet man, they came to visit me one day, right when our show was in previews and we were getting ready to open. And they came one matinee, and they said, boy, this show is really a dog. And I said, it is.
Is that right? They told you straight away?
No, we laughed about it.
This is a dog. You're coming with us.
Well, it's funny because the show had just opened. She said, well, let's see what's going to happen, but would you like to replace Melissa? She's leaving. She's going on her own. Would you like to replace her? And I said, sure. Now, in the meantime, I had 3 friends who had also left Broadway and gone on to do concerts and had gotten involved in the music business. And I was just looking for something different. I was so tired of being on Broadway. I was sick of it. You have no life. You do 8 shows a week, and you work really hard. And in those days, there was no ATMs. Banks did not stay open till 4 o'clock. You had to get up early and go to the bank and go and have a life.
Be a person.
And I wasn't a person. I slept.
This is so funny.
And I went to Bergdorf's when I had a chance.
And the other thing is there's always someone younger coming along behind you.
Well, I didn't even think that because at the time I was 21 years old.
And you were already burned out.
I was. And I thought, what are you going to do? You're going to keep on auditioning and keep going on these calls? And what are you going to do? It's like you're not going to do Hamlet. I mean, face it, you're not going to play Lady Macbeth.
But did you get burned out going on concert tours as well?
Well, that was another world.
I mean, that had to be.
And that was fast-paced. I mean, it was fast. But thank God for the discipline of being in the theater because I could really roll with the punches, but it was very, very draining and very fast-paced, and I wasn't prepared for what the music business was. And when you look at on the food chain, the music business is like on the bottom of the food chain. If you take theater and then film and then television and then music. And then somewhere in there's the circus.
Yeah. So we're going to go. Did you stay friendly with Bette even though you stopped?
Absolutely. She's my son's godmother, and our families are close, and my parents loved her, and her parents loved me. So she's family.
So you were on the bottom of the food chain together, and you're still there.
Well, she went on to greater and greater,
please.
and I recorded 3 albums subsequently. The Harlettes had an album. Myself, Sharon Redd, and Ula Hedwig, we had an album called formerly The Harlettes. And which did pretty well. That was on Columbia Records. And then I sang, was in a jazz trio for 8 years, which was like the lost music years, if you really want to look at that.
Yeah.
I don't mean to talk badly about my career.
But you did also television. You had a recurring role on Rhoda.
On Rhoda and Married with Children.
Right.
And I
so
really,
you've acted a lot.
And that was just a fluke because I'm thinking to myself, okay, good. Here are all these people who are trained and who are really into it. And see, I prided myself on the fact that when I was in New York, I can make a living as a singer. And so I didn't starve. So I didn't go through what my actor friends went through. I mean, they really struggled. And my dancer friends.
Well, when you were in television, were those roles singing roles at all?
They were singing roles.
Oh, they were?
So all of my roles have been singing roles, except for 2 TV movies that I made. One was called After the Shock, which was about the San Francisco earthquake, and I had a speaking role in that. No singing, no dancing. And the other one was the Jerry Sherwood story, and it was also called A Child Lost Forever.
But you wanted to continue your singing, but along with your acting. Yes. And you told me, John, I want to come back into showbiz.
Yes, I do.
Wait a minute, how do you want to come back into showbiz?
Well,
you're already there.
Yeah, this is true. But being home with my son, who I really love, this is the longest time I've ever spent without pursuing work actively. I mean, he's 10 months old. This is the longest time in 25 years that I've taken this time off to just be at home with him and be with him.
So you just feel you've just been away from it. So to come back is just to be an actress again. One thing, just before we leave, because we don't have a second left, but you've made a lot of commercials. Were you on camera or were you singing?
I did both. My on-camera commercial was for McDonald's with BB and CeCe Winans, and I've done a lot of off-camera singing. My most recent and most... The last thing I did was a Rembrandt commercial. Oh, the teeth. You have white teeth. Yeah, yeah. You have. Is that why you said you brushed before you came? I just brushed for you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we're happy you were with us. Thank you. And before we go, very quickly, Psalms 69:30 says, I will praise the name of the Lord with song and magnify him with thanksgiving. And we go right along with that. Thanks very much. Thank you. And thanks for being with us on the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to us at 520 South Grand. See you next time.